Great your faithfulness, oh God my Father, oh God my friend, your love it never fades, and so I love you until the end. When shadows fall, from age to age, you never change. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. Through the years, you've always been there. Great is your love for us, your love for us. Through the years, you've always been there.
Great your kindness, you are a shelter, our dwelling place. Your presence like a fire, hope for tomorrow, strength for today. When shadows fall, you never change. From age to age, you'll never change.
Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. Through the years, you've always been there. Great is your love for us, your love for us. Through the years, you've always been there. We will stand on your promises. We are strong because our hope is in you. We will run, we will run, we will run. We belong, we belong, we belong to you. To you. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. Through the years, you've always been there. Great is your love for us, your love for us. Through the years, you've always been there. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. Through the years, you've always been there. Great is your love for us, your love for us. Through the years, you've always been there. Through the years, you've always been there. Through the years, you've always been there. How great your faithfulness.
empty-handed, but not forsaken. I've been set free. I've been set free.
yourself down, raising up the broken to life. You take our failure, you take our weakness, you set your treasure in jars of clay. So take this heart, Lord, I'll be your vessel, oh, well, to see your life in me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see you now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see you now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life. Oh, I can see you now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to life.
Two Corinthians 5 and verse 14 has some words that have really grabbed me recently, and I hope they will for you too. For Christ's love compels us, because we're convinced that one died for all and therefore all died. I was in a prayer meeting and somebody prayed about being compelled by the love of Christ, and I had to look up where that came from, and it came from this verse. And the idea of being compelled comes from the idea of being convinced. So it was those two things that grabbed me. To be convinced is like a judge making a decision based on the evidence. And I think we just need to admit something. However imaginative and creative our programs of outreach are within our church, whether they're new ways or whether they're old ways, they will never really be that fruitful and effective unless our churches are made up of individuals and our small groups are made up of individuals who are convinced and compelled. Compelled means to be held in, but in a good way. It's what holds you together. So my question is, before we do a whole bunch of innovative and creative things to reach out with the message of hope that we have, why are you convinced? I'm convinced for a whole bunch of reasons in the message that we have in Jesus. I'm convinced because I look at creation and I see more than enough hints that point to a creator, and an innovative creator at that. I'm convinced because when I see life right at the very end as a minister, when I have the privilege of being with people very near the end of their lives, I'm convinced that that end is not it, and there is more, and that more is eternal. I'm convinced at the other end of life, when new life happens, and I see a baby, that there is more than the sum of its wriggling parts, and that more has a soul. I'm convinced most of all because of the life and death and resurrection of Jesus, and because Jesus's words and wisdom are so compelling and have lasted the test of time and across cultures. My family converted from Hinduism on my dad's side, from Sri Lanka, and the words of Jesus work just as effectively in an Asian context in the northern part of Sri Lanka as they do here in the UK or anywhere else in the world, and I don't know anybody else's words for whom that could be true. I'm convinced because of the life of the early disciples, who had nothing to go on but their own evidence and yet staked their lives on what they did and the way they followed Jesus after he had ascended. And I'm convinced because of the life of Christians today, some of whom suffer great persecution for their faith, and because of friends who are followers of Jesus much closer to home. I think it's important for us all to have reasons why we are convinced and compelled. So what are your reasons? What are your reasons why you're a believer today? Not why you first became a Christian, though that may be included in it, but right now, why are you convinced and compelled? A judge that isn't necessarily certain, but they've got more than enough to go on to base a judgment on it. Because we need to accept that before we create a whole range of interesting and innovative ways of doing church in order to help reach those who wouldn't come foreseeably to the ways that we do church in our locality at the moment, we need to accept that in the end it comes down to individuals, you and me, having the confidence and the means to explain the message of hope in Jesus that we have.
Offer up my life in spirit and truth, pouring out the oil of love as my worship to you. In surrender I must give my every part. Lord, receive the sacrifice of a broken heart. Jesus, what can I give? What can it be? So faithful a friend, to so words could not tell, not even in part, of the debt of love that is owed by this thankful heart. You deserve my every breath, for you've paid the great cost, giving up your life to death, even death on the cross. You took all my shame away, there defeated my sin, opened up the gates of heaven, and I beckon me in. Jesus, what can I give? What can I bring to so faithful a friend, to so loving a King? Savior, what can be said? What can be sung as a praise of your name for the things you have done? Oh, my words could not tell, not even